Hello, friends from Five Reasons. Here we are back again with Ethan Skolnick to talk about this next game. And we just got Alex Toledo to be here with us as well. Let's put it right
Yeah,
here.
I can
It's gonna
barely
be
hear
tough. It's okay. It's okay. He's in the arena. Ethan and I are not. I'm in Houston. Ethan is at his house right now. But we're going to talk about the next four games the Miami Heat's going to
you.
have at the American Arena, especially the one tonight against the Washington Wizards. I'll be back here watching.
Yeah, so I'll go to Alex's disembodied voice here in a second. But he's at the arena with Alf, so follow those guys at Tropical Blanket at Alf954 tonight, and obviously our coverage at FiveReasonSports.com. Did a podcast with Amin al-Hassan today. And I'll start here with you, Alex, because you were on that podcast with me. Amin was very complimentary of the Heat, I thought, to the point of saying that their upside, I thought he was going to say was the second round, because that's where I kind of led him. And he said the conference finals.
Yeah.
I mean, before we kind of get to this homestand here, is that reasonable in your view with the team is currently constituted?
Yeah, so I was surprised by that too. I think he had to make sure that he wanted to claim that he still has the stake as, as an upper level executive on Heat Island, because in the beginning of the pod, he said that he never actually called Dragic a top 5 point guard in the league 4 or 5 years ago when they got traded for him. So I think that was his move, where he had to balance it out and say that their seeding is a little bit higher than maybe he thought. I totally thought he was going to say second round, just like you let him off with. But
I don't hear Alex. You know what? We'll try this another day, Alejandro, I think. But just we're going to start lineup out. Butler, Adebayo, Leonard, Robinson, and Nunn. But the disembodied voice was no voice for me. But basically, again, listen to the podcast today, because I was a little bit surprised that Amin went that far. But to get into this homestand a little bit, obviously the Heat have beaten up on bad teams, so they've got another bad team in here tonight. And everybody talks about Bradley Beal, but there's not much else on that squad right now. But you look at the rest of this, you got a Hawks team that's very beatable coming up on Tuesday. But you take a look at, leading into the Laker game next Friday night. But there's been a dichotomy with this Heat team. Against the bad teams, they've cleaned them all up. They're 12-0 against them. And we can say that that's not impressive. But Boston's had some bad losses this year. Philadelphia's had a bunch of bad losses this year. If you beat the bad teams, you're going to get to 50 wins. There's enough bad teams in the NBA right now, Alejandro, that you don't – you lose to Denver – you lose to Philadelphia, you lose to, Houston one of the two times, you lose to the Lakers. But if you're pounding all the bad teams and you get an occasional win against the Toronto, that's 50 wins. And 50 wins in the Eastern Conference, even with the East being improved, probably get you a top 4 seed.
Now, Ethan, I want you to go over a tweet that you posted today saying that the Heat should not be talking so much, or people watching the Heat talking so much about losing when they're on the second night of back-to-back. And you talked a little bit about what went on with the Big Three era, and I know Giancarlo Navas was trying to punch
Giancarlo's a Raptors fan. I don't pay attention.
I know, and he's hurt because we beat him over there. But now talking about losing all these back-to-back games, you think it should be an excuse for the Miami Heat, especially how bad they're losing those games?
Well, that's okay. So, Alejandro, that's the thing. I mean, the Big Three comparison probably is unfair. I mean, I mentioned that the Big Three, won that back-to-back-to-back. People remember that one. I think Indiana was the last game of that back-to-back-to-back. And so obviously that was a unique team. It's one of the great teams in NBA history, right? And even though, that was during this, I believe, the lockout season. So it was during the second season that they had there together, not the season they had the 27-game win streak. But look, so I'm not comparing them to the Big Three. That's not what I was getting at. But I do feel like Heat fans are jumping on this thing of like, oh my God, the schedule's so unfair. Okay, yeah, so it hasn't been great that you tend to get these back-to-backs against good teams, right? Toronto and Boston. Now you're going to get another one coming up with the Lakers and Dallas. I'm sure that there's going to be complaints about that one too, right? And also the fact that they've been, with the exception of this Laker-Dallas one coming up, they've been back-to-backs all on the road. I understand that's challenging. But Alejandro, there's a lot fewer back-to-backs than there used to be. There used to be a lot more of them. And if the Heat's whole thing is about culture and conditioning, I'm a little tired of the fans whining about this. I'm not saying it's not an excuse. I understand that it's a reason why you struggle second night of back-to-backs. I get it. But we've gone too far, because the point is they haven't played well in any of them. It's not like they've been close and lost, right? They've had dead legs. And I just want to see a Heat team that prides itself on conditioning show up at least in those games. Doesn't mean you're going to win them all against good teams, but show up. So I was just trying to get the fans to be quiet about that. I'm not saying that this team has Wade, Bosch, and LeBron. Okay, so everybody jumped on that one thing today, which was ridiculous.
Well, but it's true. I mean, if you go over those games, maybe the Lakers one was kind of close. Maybe the first 2 quarters with the Celtics, but the rest of them were really just bad basketball. It didn't have to be with being tired, or they were actually against Philadelphia, for example. They were missing a lot of just open shots. You should make even if you're tired. That doesn't really make a difference. Now, for these next 4 games, how many games do you think the Miami Heat is going to win? Especially, I mean, they're going to close out against the Lakers the next 4 games. But how many do you think they can get those 4?
I don't think they get all 4. I think 3-1 would be a real positive here. If you can get to 3-1 here, you still got guys in and out, right? Like, I mean, no Winslow tonight, no Dragic. Like, we haven't talked enough about that. How long is that going to be? Because Goran has been, Alf and I kind of agreed, he's kind of been their 3rd most important player this year. So how long do you not have that scoring punch off the bench? And, Dion, I mean, today he's ill, right? I mean, is Dion ever going to play for the Heat? So, and with the way that Kendrick Nunn has, kind of come down to earth here a little bit, his shooting percentage is now under 44. His 3-point percentage is now under 35. So, look, it's still good and still great production for an undrafted rookie. But you're still, at a point where you're counting on him a lot, and he has hit the wall a little bit, right? Like, so we want to see him come out of it tonight against a bad team that he should be able to do some damage again, even though obviously you've got Beal on the other side. So I just think, without Dragic, with Winslow, how long is Justice going to be out? And we have to have the Justice Winslow conversation. He misses a lot of time. Now, the concussion
that wasn't necessarily his fault, right?
No, the concussion was not. Like, the concussion was not. Well, none of it is anybody's fault, right? Like, the concussion is a freak thing. But
there's some injuries that you can, you didn't prepare well for the season, but this one is not one of them.
No, but this is a back, right? I mean, you don't know. And look, I'm not blaming him, but I'm just saying, you can't. It's what Bill Parcells always used to say, right? You can't win a job from the tub, right? And so, if they're going to commit to Justice long term, and I thought that was one of the interesting things Amin said on the podcast. He's like, right now, he's accurately priced at about $12 million a year. When you start looking into the future and you say, is he a $22, $23, $24 million player? He's got to be available to them. And so I think, they have to develop some rhythm with Winslow and Butler offensively. And it's been hard to do that with Jimmy out at the beginning of the year and then Justice out so much since. So these are all things to monitor. But the Dragic loss for them is big against good teams. They need, against good teams that have good starting lineups, they need a guy to come off the bench like Goran who can change the game for them a little bit. That happened against the Lakers, actually. Goran changed the game. They couldn't sustain it, but he was the guy. The game up in Brooklyn, like without Goran in that first half, they're down 15 at the half, right? And they don't come back into that game with what Jimmy did and what Justice did at the end. So missing Goran, I would say 3-1 would be a great 4-game stretch, probably 2-2.
Okay. All right. It's almost 8 over there in the East Coast, so we're gonna just finish this up. Are you guys podding tonight?
They may pod tonight. I'm gonna pod Sunday. I'll be at the game on Sunday night, and obviously we'll pod into next week with the Laker game. One interesting pod we've got coming up. Got clearance from the Heat to talk to Andy Ellisberg and Adam Simon next week about something that the Heat have done very well over the past few years. So we're gonna have a pod with Andy and Adam together. Kind of unique. You don't hear Andy Ellisberg talk a lot on these kind of platforms, right? So, so that's something the Heat fans can look forward to a little bit.
All right, just go and check 5 on the Floor, and also subscribe if you're here on the YouTube
Cinco
channel.
Arizona's too.
Cinco Arizona's too. Yes, you can listen to us as well, and here visit 5reasonsports.com, and you can buy all your T-shirts, and then you can go to the American Athletic Arena rocking your Jimmy Butler. You have
Tyler
the
Hero.
You have the Tyler Hero,
Haslam,
MVP, Haslam, anything you want over there. So,
well, I got a 5-year-old to put to bed so I can watch the game.
Yeah,
so
bye. Go
watch
the game, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.